Everything about Animal Hospital seems like it is about spotting anomalies because you work shifts, treat patients, and close the shutters when something looks wrong. That is the game, or at least that is what it wants you to think. Because after going through every piece of dialogue, every hidden item, and every clue the community has found so far, I realized something that changes the entire story. The anomalies were never the real enemy. They are just the result of something much worse. We are talking about Barney transforming in ways you do not expect, Dr. Harlo watching you from a window with hollow eyes while pretending to be your mentor, a corporation called Animal Corp hiding behind every wall of this hospital, a rat named Rathu running from people who want him gone, and somewhere behind all of it, a man in a yellow suit who might have started everything. When all the pieces connect, this game stops feeling like a simple hospital survival experience and starts feeling like one massive conspiracy. So, let me walk you through the entire hidden story. At first, Animal Hospital looks like a normal Roblox horror game where you work in a hospital, treat animals, and avoid creatures. Straightforward enough, but after a few shifts, strange visitors start showing up, and that is when the real story begins. Characters like Barney, Dr. Harlo, Rathu, Ron, and a journalist named Liz keep coming back between shifts, and each one of them carries a piece of a mystery that goes way deeper than the game ever tells you directly. Let me start with Barney, because his story is the one that tricks you the hardest. He is a white rabbit with a mustache and a brown hat, and when he first shows up, all he wants is coffee. He calls you his friend, treats you with warmth, and comes across as so genuinely nice that you would never suspect anything wrong with him, which is exactly why his reveal hits so hard. Because at some point during his visits, Barney asks you to take his photo. You grab the camera, snap the picture, and the image that comes out does not match the friendly rabbit standing in front of you. Instead, it shows sharp teeth, hollow eyes, and a twisted grin that makes it very clear what Barney actually is underneath, an anomaly. And that reveal is only the beginning of what makes his story so disturbing. Before that photo, he also asked you to hold on to a heavy red briefcase marked with a warning not to open it. After the photo, he comes back and asks for a scalpel, which is already unsettling enough when you know what he really looks like. And then, on his final visit, he shows up panicking, begging you to hide him because someone is coming for him. That someone is Officer Duckman, a police officer who arrives at your window with a warrant. He shows you a photo of Barney, the same photo you took, and tells you that the rabbit is a wanted serial killer. Now you have a choice. Turn in the friend who trusted you, or stay quiet and protect him. If you hand Barney over, he pulls a kitchen knife, attacks the officer, destroys a camera, and runs. If you stay silent, the officer leaves, and Barney gives you the red briefcase as a gift. Inside is a second coffee machine. But the question nobody can answer yet is, what was really in that briefcase before he gave it to you? So Barney is an anomaly, a serial killer, and someone who is clearly hiding something much bigger than a coffee addiction. Keep that in mind, because his story is going to come back later with a completely different meaning. Now, most people at this point would keep following Barney's thread, but the real question is not about Barney. It is about where the anomalies came from in the first place, and the answer keeps pointing to one name: Animal Corp. Animal Corp is the corporation that owns the hospital. Ron from accounting, a blue character who works in their management division, confirms this during one of his later visits. And Ron drops something that is easy to miss. The patients are not just sick, they are infected. On top of that, Ron knows why the hospital keeps hiring new interns even though he refuses to explain it. He personally witnessed the previous manager get eaten by the bed monster, and he carries maple syrup everywhere because he figured out it works against certain monsters. For someone who claims to just work in accounting, this guy understands the patterns way too well. Then there is Liz, a journalist who used to work for Animal Corp's own news channel. She was fired for reporting on the anomaly infection because the corporation called her stories fake news and wanted her gone. When she shows up at the hospital around shift 10, she gives you a UV camera and asks you to photograph specific patients. After you collect enough evidence, Liz realizes something that hits hard. She was not fired because her reports were wrong. She was fired because they were true. Animal Corp silenced the one person trying to tell the world what was happening. So, the corporation owns the hospital, employs Ron, fired Liz for getting too close, and is apparently hunting Rathu. The hospital is a front for something much darker than anyone inside it realizes, and the person running it from the inside might be the most suspicious character in the entire game. Dr. Harlo is the first face you see after your very first shift. A deer with antlers, a blue surgical mask, and a calm, reassuring voice who acts as your boss and your mentor at the same time. He unlocks new tools, grades your work, and walks you through the mechanics of the hospital, so everything about him feels like someone you should trust completely. So, why is there a version of him standing behind a hospital window with completely hollow eyes, staring at every player in the lobby? Players discovered this by glitching out of bounds, and it sent the community into a frenzy. Same body, same antlers, same outfit, except the face is blank, empty, like an anomaly. No matter where you move in the lobby, this window Harlo seems to be watching. That alone would be enough. But on top of that, Harlo has been seen leaving the hospital to meet someone in a hazmat suit. He talks to them, walks back inside, and acts like nothing happened. And here is the detail that ties everything together. Harlo carries a black briefcase labeled Top Secret in red letters. The exact same kind of briefcase Ron carries. The exact same kind hidden inside the Room 5 safe. 3 different characters, 3 identical briefcases, all pointing at Animal Corp. In his later dialogue, Harlo reveals something that changed how the entire community sees him. He says that there were many managers before you, implying they all disappeared. And then, he says that Animal Corp saved him, or at least what was left of him, which is why he now works for them. He also says that sacrifices have to be made, and he might be one of them. What does that mean? What happened to him that left only a piece of him to be saved? That question opens the door to one of the biggest theories in the game. I want to be very clear about this next part. What I am about to describe is based on the most popular community theories. The developers have not confirmed most of it. Think of it as a possible reading of the story, built from in-game clues and community analysis. The theory starts with a disaster. A power plant accident caused a disease that spread among animals. There is a newspaper outside the map in the game that references this event, which gives the idea some real weight. Animal Corp was the company that promised to find a cure, and they launched a research project to do it. Dr. Harlo was one of their top researchers, and he was personally affected because he had also contracted the disease. According to the theory, a man dressed entirely in yellow appeared one day at the hospital and told Harlo he knew about his illness and could cure him. Harlo, desperate after years of failed treatments, agreed to go with him. He got into a truck with the Animal Corp logo, started feeling dizzy on the way, and blacked out. When he woke up inside one of their laboratories, the man in yellow was holding something green and told him it was much better than a cure. They injected Harlo with a formula, and for a brief moment he felt incredible because his disease started fading and he felt stronger than ever before. Then he looked in the mirror and realized that his body had completely changed because the formula had not cured him at all. It had turned him into an anomaly. The man in yellow told him that soon none of it would matter and that he needed to go back to work for Animal Corp because they had gotten their best researcher back, just not in the way anyone expected. And here is where the theory gets dark. The formula did not just change Harlo's body, it changed his mind. He stopped wanting to cure diseases and instead started wanting to create more anomalies, each one stronger than the last. The man in yellow gave him access to all of Animal Corp's facilities, and Harlo, now completely consumed by this obsession, needed test subjects. That is where Rathu and his twin sister Ratina enter the story. In the game, Rathu is a small black rat who visits the hospital and barely trusts anyone. During his first visit, he does not even tell you his name because his tag just shows question marks. And only over time does he open up, warns you not to trust anyone, and eventually reveals the biggest piece of his story. His sister Ratina worked for Animal Corp and disappeared without a trace. Rathu has been searching for her ever since. Before he vanishes for good, he gives you a key. Take that key to room 5, pull down the cat poster, and you will find a hidden safe. Inside are 3 things: a photo of Ratina, a briefcase marked Top Secret, and a note that reads, "The experiment was a success. The shadow now sees everything." The community immediately connected that name to the stalker, the tall black creature with large almond-shaped eyes and a massive smile that appears around corners during your shifts. The stalker has a curved tail similar to Rathu's. Ron mentioned he used to work with the stalker and called them shy. And here's the detail that makes people lose it. You can show the stalker the photo of Ratina, and the photo burns in your hands. A message pops up on screen. Make of that what you will, but the implication is hard to ignore. According to the community theory, Harlo targeted Rathu and Ratina because they were vulnerable, living on the streets with nowhere to go. He promised them shelter and a better life if they helped with his experiments. They trusted him. The formula affected each of them differently. Ratina's body began stretching unnaturally, her eyes changed, a giant smile appeared on her face, and she transformed into what we now know as the Stalker. Rathu's transformation was more controlled. He looked normal on the outside, similar to how Harlo can hide his anomaly form, but something inside him had changed permanently. When Matthew saw what happened to his sister, he tried to fight back, but Harlo had already figured out how to control other anomalies. He ordered the stalker, Ratina, to go to the hospital, and Matthew realized he was powerless. Harlo threatened him. If he tried anything, he would never see his sister again. So, Matthew ran. He grabbed a photo of Ratina, the note about the experiment, and a briefcase full of documents, and he escaped. According to the theory, Harlo let him go because he knew Matthew would be too scared to act. Matthew eventually made his way to the hospital, disguised as a patient, and started gathering more evidence. He found a safe in room 5 that matched the ones from Animal Corp's labs, and he hid everything inside it. He kept coming back, slowly trusting the workers, until one day he handed the key and a note to a staff member and told them to check behind the poster. Then, he disappeared, knowing the corporation was closing in on him. With the formula perfected, the theory says Harlo turned the hospital into the perfect cover. He modified the medications so that instead of curing patients, they would infect them and gradually turn them into anomalies. Everyone who came in thinking they were being healed was actually being transformed. That would explain something Matthew noticed: animals walking into the hospital looking normal and leaving as anomalies. The hospital was never saving anyone because it had been turned into a factory for manufacturing monsters. The theory extends to Harlo's own staff. There is a piece of lore about a security guard with vision problems. Harlo promised to fix his eyesight, took him to Animal Corp's labs, put him in an X-ray machine, and injected the formula at the same time. The guard's body turned dark, black smoke poured from him, his eyes became enormous, bright red and glowing, and a terrifying smile spread across his face. Harlo looked at him and said, "I told you that you would be able to see everything." That creature became the camera monster, the anomaly you see watching through the surveillance system. If any worker got suspicious, Harlo would make them disappear and hire someone new, which explains why the hospital keeps cycling through interns and why Ron knows the reason behind it, even though he will not say it out loud. The old employees did not quit. They were removed because they got too close to figuring out what was really going on. Remember when I said Barney's story would come back with a different meaning? There is a second major theory about him, and it completely reframes everything we saw earlier. According to this theory, before Barney became an anomaly, he was one of Animal Corp's workers. Some versions point to him being the psychologist, which connects to an in-game detail. The psychologist class has a character model that looks a lot like Barney, especially the mustache. The theory says that while working on the cure for the power plant disease, Barney accidentally developed the formula that would later create the anomalies. He was trying to save lives, and instead he created the worst thing in this story. Before he understood what he had made, the formula was used on Matthew and Ratina. When Harlo saw the results, he stopped caring about the cure and decided to use the formula on himself. Then, he turned on Barney. He injected him with it, telling him the cure had been found. Barney panicked because he had already seen what happened to the test subjects, but for a few minutes after the injection, nothing changed. He thought it had actually worked until he saw his reflection and realized he had been turned into an anomaly by the very formula he created. Barney tried to fight back, but Harlo had already injected a guard who stopped him, and after Barney collapsed and woke up, his only thought was to grab a red briefcase with all the lab documents and escape. Days later, starving and unable to control his transformation, he found a cup of coffee in the trash. After drinking it, something shifted. For the first time, he could control his anomaly form. Coffee kept his mind stable, which is the theory behind his obsession with it, because according to this version of the story, coffee is the only thing keeping him from completely losing control of his anomaly form. He eventually heard rumors that people were entering the hospital looking normal and leaving as anomalies. He knew Harlo was behind it and decided to go there. To his surprise, the staff treated him with kindness and nobody recognized him, so he kept coming back, using coffee to stay stable, and started trusting the workers. But when he asked someone to take his photo and saw his anomaly form in the picture, he realized cameras could expose any anomaly's true appearance, even when they looked normal. The theory says Harlo was the one who tipped off the police, framing Barney as a dangerous criminal so he would be captured before he could reveal what Animal Corp had done. If that is true, then Barney's red briefcase does not just contain a coffee machine. It might contain the proof of every experiment, every formula, and every document that could expose Harlo and the corporation. And the second coffee machine he gave you? According to the theory, that was not just a gift. It was a warning, because Barney knows the staff might be infected too, and coffee might be the only thing keeping them sane. Step back and look at all of this together. Animal Corp created the conditions for the anomaly crisis through reckless experiments. Harlo, their former top researcher, was either saved or trapped by them. He controls the hospital from the inside, meets hazmat figures in secret, carries a top-secret briefcase, and his true anomaly form stares at you through the window. Rathu and Ratina were test subjects. Ratina vanished after working for Animal Corp, and a hidden note says the experiment was a success and that the shadow sees everything. The stalker reacts when you show it Ratina's photo. Rathu survived and spent his time gathering evidence until he trusted you enough to hand over the key. Ron knows more than he lets on. He works for Animal Corp, hints at dark truths, and does not seem to actively stop Rathu from chewing through confidential reports. It is almost like he wants someone to figure it out without putting himself at risk. Liz was silenced for reporting on the infection and came to the hospital to collect the proof the corporation tried to bury. And Barney carries physical evidence in a briefcase while using coffee to keep himself from losing control. When you put it all together, you have 3 top-secret briefcases carried by different characters, multiple storylines connected to Animal Corp, employees who keep disappearing without explanation, medications that infect instead of curing, a doctor with hollow eyes behind a window, and a hospital that never runs out of new interns because the old ones never make it. Let me separate what is confirmed from what is still speculation, because mixing them up is how theories turn into misinformation. Confirmed. Barney is an anomaly and a serial killer. Dr. Harlo has a visible anomaly form through the lobby window. Ratina worked for Animal Corp and disappeared. The Room 5 safe contains a top-secret briefcase, Ratina's photo, and a note about the shadow. Ron works for Animal Corp and knows why interns keep getting replaced. Liz was fired for reporting on the anomaly infection. The stalker reacts to Ratina's photo, and Harlo says Animal Corp saved what was left of him. What could happen next? Barney could return and open the briefcase in front of us. The Ratina stalker connection could be officially confirmed. Harlo's true nature could become a gameplay event. The man in yellow could be introduced as an actual character, and Animal Corp could be revealed as still running experiments behind everything. The developers have been adding content consistently since the game launched in May 2026, and the Harlo's favorite update in July introduced Liz, refreshed Harlo's model, and expanded multiple dialogue trees. The lore keeps growing with every update. After going through every clue and every theory, one thing feels clear. The anomalies were never the real problem, because they are just symptoms of something much bigger. The real mystery is Animal Corp, what they did in those labs, what they are still doing through the hospital, and why Harlo stands at that window, watching every new intern who walks through the door. Rathu gave us the key, Barney carries the evidence, Liz is collecting the proof, and Ron knows the truth even though he will not say it out loud. And somewhere behind all of them, there is still a corporation, a formula, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. Which character do you think is hiding the biggest secret? Drop it in the comments. This story is just getting started, and I think the next update is going to change everything we thought we knew. If you want more videos covering Animal Hospital's lore, make sure to subscribe so you do not miss any of them. See you in the next one.